I love how women have decided to be single and not have kids because now the world can go extinct.
Roughly about 52% of women between their mid-30s and going into their 40s are single.
I would not want to be with a man who makes less money than me, less smart than me, shorter than me.
Nothing has changed, really. Women who want kids will have them. The ones who don't will chase married men.
If I end up paying on the first date, I will never have a second date.
50% of women will be single by the year 2030.
A lot of women like to claim that they are single by choice in order to avoid taking accountability for their poor relationship choices.
But what happens to the men that will pay you?
Nothing has happened to those men. They've simply moved on from playing the games. Kindly subscribe to the channel, as it is our sole form of support. Thank you.
Since when did treating people with respect and basic communication become so hard to come by these days? If you're not interested in somebody anymore, tell them. If you need space, fine. If you want to see other people, then break up. If you need to cheat or ghost somebody just because you can't use your fucking words, then you shouldn't be dating at all.
Question for the guys. If you're intimidated by a woman, whether you think she's out of your league or she makes too much money or her car is nicer than your car, is there anything that you do to make yourself feel equal to or better? Or do you just abandon ship? Because I don't understand. I don't get this.
There's a report out there about that by 2030, the majority of working women, okay, so that's ages 25 to 45, 45% of them are going to be unmarried and no kids. So women who are 38 years old are going to look and say, I've been working my ass off since I'm 21 years old. I've been encouraged to go to school, get a job. I don't need no man. I'm going to become a boss baby CEO. And they're going to look at themselves and they're turning 40 next year and and they're going to be like, I've got a couple $100,000 in the bank. No man, no kids, couple cats.
I've got one egg left.
There's a lot of reason why 45% of women will be single by 2030. Many women today prioritize careers over relationships, focusing heavily on building their professional lives and achieving financial independence, often at the expense of personal connections. And of course, let's not forget about the entitlement mindset, where some women develop unrealistic expectations of what a partner should provide while offering little in return. Modern dating culture also plays a significant role, with hookup culture and casual flings often replacing meaningful connections. The normalization of short-term relationships has led to a decline in long-term commitment, leaving many women disillusioned by the lack of stability and sincerity in their romantic pursuits. As global dating trends shift, with many men seeking partners abroad who embody more traditional values, the dating pool for Western women becomes even more competitive.
I genuinely need the universe to explain. I'm over here ready to be wifed. No, I'm ready to fall so in love. Like I'm ready to give someone serious babies. I'm 31 today, and no one is sitting across the table from me at dinner and holding my hand or telling me how beautiful I look or coming home and doing whatever it is that people do. It's unfair. It's ridiculous.
Every time I hear a woman say, where are all the good men? Or I can't find any good men, and they're actually being serious about that, my response is always, I've never had a problem finding good men. I see and meet good men every single day of my life. So if you can't find any good men, maybe it's because they're hiding. Maybe it's because they don't want you to find them. And what's that say about you?
Most women are looking for the ones they have instant chemistry with. Guess what most women are doing? The same thing. Those guys have lots of options. Women initiate divorce 80% of the time. If 80% of the parachutes don't open, I'm not jumping. Being a good person in general has got me burnt more times than I have fingers and toes. Some of their idea of a good man is a man that's making 6 figures, 6'2", 6-pack abs, face of a model. That's what a lot of women think a good man is. They want a 10. Unrealistic expectations are the root cause of many women's disappointments. If these women were truly looking for good men, it would reflect in their actions and the men they choose to pursue and invest their time in, but it doesn't reflect that at all. Instead, Many of them follow the same pattern over and over again, gravitating toward men who might be exciting in the moment, but lack the qualities needed for a healthy, long-term relationship. Then, when these relationships inevitably fail, they complain that there are no good men left, refusing to acknowledge their own role in the cycle. The fact is, many of these women need to reflect, look at themselves and what they're doing before declaring all good men are gone. These dudes didn't choose to go into hiding. They were forced to.
Have you ever heard about Morgan Stanley study that about 40% of women will be single by 2030? It's crazy. Well, I did some research and I wanted to share some of the reasons why this might be the case.
I love how women have decided to be single and not have kids because now the world can go extinct and the population can die, all because men thought the world revolved around them, but it never did. It revolved around us. And now because you don't want to listen to us, the world is going to end.
I don't know where they get this idea from, that the world is going extinct because 45% of women don't want children. It's ridiculous. The notion that society is somehow doomed because a segment of women are opting out of motherhood fails to acknowledge a fundamental truth. People have been having children for centuries, and that won't change overnight. There are still millions of women around the world who do want children, who are committed to starting families, and who are raising the next generation. The idea that the entire world hinges on the choices of one demographic group is not only short-sighted, but also ignores the reality that family dynamics are evolving, not disappearing. The 55% of women who still want children are just as committed to continuing the human race, just as the generations before them did.
What is the ideal age?
I would have to say the person that I would marry right now would probably have to be between 32 and 43.
Okay. What would you want his income to be?
I was just having this conversation with my friend. You have to manifest a husband, girl. You have to really think about the lifestyle that you want to live. The lifestyle that you want to live when it comes down to vacations and how many kids you want to have. Just like the lifestyle that you want to have. Just like the lifestyle that you want to have. My husband needs to be making like $650,000.
Woo-wee. Alright, 32, 43, exclude married, any race, minimum height 5'8", exclude obesity, and 650,000, 0.032, full-fledged caddy.
45% of prime working age women ages 25 to 44 will be single by 2030, the largest share in history, up from 41% in 2018.
You know when you haven't had a talking stage for months and months? There isn't even a guy that you're crushing over. There is no one in your life. Like, I think I've become too comfortable with being by myself to the point where nothing has happened for months. There isn't even a male that I'm like, I was gonna say fantasizing about, but you know what I mean. No.
For those ladies out there who decided to stop dating, you don't have time to date, you're celibate, you're abstinent or whatever, and people give you a hard time, just tell them, listen, I am no longer willing to play these games, these dating games, these reindeer games that a lot of y'all are still willing to play. That's how you gotta tell them.
Translation. Ladies, you tell them that we are tired. We have used every sprinkle tactic in the book, but somehow these dusty men have figured out that
Instead of complaining, they need to look in the mirror. This is all their own doing. It's their unreasonable standards, or shall I say, entitlement. They all believe they are somehow worthy of that social media ensue lifestyle, the money, vacations, luxury purchases, etc. Not to generalize. As woman, I don't have time to date. I'm not playing these games no more. Translation. I'm so old and my attitude sucks that no man wants my dusty tenderloins.
By 2030, it is estimated up to 45% of women between the ages of 24 and 40 will not be married and will be childless. And there's many debates on why this might be the case. And I am a mum to a 29-year-old and a 21-year-old. I'm around a lot of their friends. And what I hear from them is, number one, they don't want to be left, if they choose to have children with somebody, left having a child or left looking after a child on their own, which We know the vast majority of single parents happen to be women, and women simply don't want to put themselves in that situation. And I suppose we still demonise single mothers. They get an awful reputation or an awful name. People look very poorly on single mothers. The other is the world is a much smaller place and they just want to do other things. Like having a child doesn't seem like the goal anymore. Doesn't seem like the gold standard to them. And then being in a marriage is something that they just don't aspire to. Like they have relationships, but they don't see the need. Like once upon a time, women believed that being married and having children was like you won the lotto, but we've learned that definitely isn't the case.
It's true that the vast majority of single parents are women, and that's largely because of women's choices. Now, I'm not saying it's their fault every single time. There are cases where circumstances are beyond anyone's control. But for the most part, women are the ones who actively choose these men they procreate with. They make these decisions despite the clear red flags, and then later act surprised when the relationship falls apart or the man doesn't step up to his responsibilities. It raises the question, what happened to the intuition that so many women are so proud of? And it doesn't matter if 45% of women are projected to be single or don't want to have kids, because men nowadays are starting not to want children. And fun fact is, many women are on antidepressant pills. What does that tell you? It's indicative of a larger issue at play. When you look at the numbers, it's clear that many women today are struggling with stress, anxiety, and feelings of emptiness.
I'm a 30-year-old woman who is single and have never had a boyfriend, and I still live at home with my parents. Ready with me for date number 3 with the same person. We're doing dinner and a movie. What I find really hard with dating is that you have all these ideal situations in your head and relationships and partners, and it's a lot for your brain to process. Also trying to figure out if you actually like this person.
I love this comment. I truly do. So let's discuss it, okay? I believe the Miss Independent Woman thing swung way too far on the pendulum years ago, and ultimately independent women took on so much masculine energy. We emasculated men. Now I truly desire a masculine man, but if I am so independent, I don't need a man, well, then you're going to keep men away from you, right? And so I am learning that fine line, that dance, that balance of being driven and ambitious and independent, because I think that's sexy. I think independence is sexy. However, I have to create space for that masculine man that I ultimately desire, because otherwise, taking on so much independence, men don't feel like men. Men are... that innate desire behind them is to provide and safety and security, right, men? I would love to hear you chime in. So women, if you truly want that masculine man, that yin and yang in a relationship, it's okay to be independent, but it's okay to bring your guard down to create space for him to take over too.
The only thing this independent thing has done to women is push men away and has made them repulsive. When independence becomes an obsession or a defense mechanism, it can make women appear unapproachable or emotionally unavailable. Men, in particular, may feel that they're being shut out or even threatened by the idea of a partner who doesn't seem to need them at all. The irony is that many women who embrace this hyper-independence wonder why men are less interested in committing or building relationships with them. They may not realize that the more they push for total autonomy, the less room they leave for love, affection, and mutual support. Over time, this can lead to frustration on both sides. Men may withdraw, feeling that their efforts are not appreciated or needed, while women may feel the pressure of their independence has isolated them even further.
To think that in a way that maybe this is really crucifying my dating life is a hard pill to swallow. And, I know that some people are going to say, no, it's okay to be successful. But at some point, I think it comes down to, are you too successful to the point where you are scaring off men, that they feel like they cannot even compete in your dating pool, that they think that they cannot match you, so they're just not interested?
I'm confused about something. Why do men always assume that we have rosters? Like, even if we've not done anything for you to think that we have a roster, is it just so that you feel better about yourself when we don't like you? That if we say we're not interested down the road, that you're like, oh, well, I'm just one of the many on your roster, so I knew this was gonna happen anyway. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know, but please explain, because I don't get it. And I know that somebody's gonna be down in the comments like, well, y'all bitches be doing this and doing that. But what if we're the ones that aren't, and like we literally haven't done anything for you to think that we would have a roster? Because I know you're going to be in those comments. I am talking about the women that do nothing to show that we have a roster, and you just somehow assume that we do.
Men think that women have rosters because they've dealt with multiple women who've had them. This belief stems from the experiences they've had with women who are constantly juggling multiple options, whether it's through dating apps, social media, or just maintaining a few connections at once. It's not just a stereotype, it's something men have encountered repeatedly. They've seen women keep several men on standby, waiting for the best offer or the most convenient option. This behavior can make men feel like they're just one of many, never truly prioritized or valued. As a result, men start to adopt a cynical view about women and their intentions. They begin to think that women aren't truly interested in forming genuine, exclusive relationships, but rather just looking for the best deal. Or it's because they believe something better will come along.